Hi, and welcome to FilmTracks, episode 17. Now we have a really awesome guest for you today.
That's correct. We're back from a very short hiatus. We have Blake Neely today, a very prolific film score composer. He has recently done the USA Network's limited miniseries Political Animals, which is coming soon, and returning to score the 5th season of CBS's hit series The Mentalist. Plus, his repertoire is very large, and so we'll try to highlight a bit of that today. Don't go anywhere.
Hosting and bandwidth for Trigla is provided by Media Temple.
Welcome back. We're back. After kind of a mini break.
Andy was busy shooting a multi-million-dollar picture.
I wish I was shooting a multi-million-dollar picture. I was assisting my boss who was shooting a multi-million-dollar picture in Virginia, but we're back, and we have a very special guest with us today. Composer Blake Neely is on our show. Welcome.
Thank you. FilmTracks. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You know, to be honest, I had never heard your music until I saw The Pacific, which was a kind of a big war movie, or huge kind of
it was a
miniseries, yeah. And then I started following your career a little bit off and on. And I think that what would be interesting for the audience watching, if they hadn't heard your music before, is kind of describe where you got your start and where you came from into the music world.
I came from Paris, Texas.
Did you really?
That's
awesome. I'm a fellow Texan myself.
Really?
All right.
All right. Which has no link to Hollywood that I knew of at the time, except for the movie Paris, Texas.
Did that make you want to get into movies after seeing that?
No, I was 14 and it was, you know, existential movie that I didn't really understand. And, but I wanted to get in. I always wanted to compose. I was always a musician, and I thought I've got to do it. And once I saw Star Wars when I was 8, I said, there's music in movies. It's sort of when I noticed it and thought, well, that's what I want to do. I don't want to write songs. I don't want to write concert music. I want to write music for movies. I was an avid TV watcher, probably watched way too much TV. And so then, just through determination, somehow made it to Hollywood. And got my start actually working for Disney in their music department.
Did you just apply?
No, it's nepotism through a friend whose dad worked there and heard they had an internship available in the music department. So I worked there for several years and got to know some of the composers at Disney who did some of their movies. And so when I left Disney, I contacted a lot of them saying I was leaving, and one particular, Michael Kamen, took me on to help him put together his concert library. And after years of doing that, he called me one night and said, you know, you must be an orchestrator. You've dealt with all these scores of mine. I said, yeah, I am, although I wasn't. But, you know, you just lie. You just say yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then I started orchestrating for him. And
explain what that is exactly for our
that's actually
members.
Well, orchestrating is taking someone's music and arranging it for an orchestra or whatever instruments.
On paper?
On paper, scoring it, writing out which instruments play which parts. And sometimes you're left to be very creative. They might have just played a piano piece and said, here, make it sound like Shostakovich. And then other composers sit with you and are very detailed about, I want flutes here, and I want strings here, and a big cymbal crash here. So there's a wide range of how creative you can be with it, but it's very helpful for me, in learning how this composer scores to picture, because you can watch the whole process.
So you can watch him do his work, and
then you take it and elaborate and make it bigger, and you gain experience with orchestras, with musicians, with the directors. So I did that for many years and was completely happy, but wanted to, had this inner struggle of, but I want it to be my music. So after many years of doing that for various composers, Michael Kamen, Hans Zimmer, Graham Revell, James Newton Howard, I then, through hearing about a show, Everwood was looking for a composer and got a meeting with the producers. And I joke that it's because my credit list was so impressive with the movies that I'd worked on, but not as my music, as an orchestrator and also conductor, that the producers were like, oh, he's got this great resume.
I see. Okay.
But we had a good meeting, and I convinced them that I could do their show, and demoed, did some tracks, and scored some scenes, and that became the start of my composing career.
Is that kind of what additional music, like when, like I was looking on your website and you have like a huge list of stuff that you've done, and it says like, for example, film additional music. Yeah,
additional music is different from orchestration in that additional music is a composer may, bring in other people because of time, to fill in some music.
So the gaps.
Yeah, fill in the gaps. Like, I've got all the themes, I'm doing it on all this, but there's this car chase that I just don't have time to get to. Can you write something in the style of me and score it? And you work with the composer very closely.
Do you normally, like, composers get credit for that? Like,
yeah,
they would?
And it's a great way to then build your resume as a composer too, because although you're writing in their style and it's not your project and you're not the one with having the director meeting, you're still scoring the picture and it's still your music. So I did a lot of those, like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Last Samurai, and Something's Gotta Give.
King Arthur.
And that's a great way in for a new composer.
I hear that's often how they start.
And often it comes from assisting that composer. I mean, you'll be assisting all day long and getting coffee and working on the computers, and suddenly it's like, I know you're a little behind. Do you want me to take this cue and I'll write it?
That's pretty cool.
So it's a great way in, and it's
a little nerve-wracking, I'm sure, too. If you're.
It's nerve-wracking, but the pressure of pleasing the director, pleasing the studio, is gone. You're just trying to please your boss, the composer.
So is it hard for you or a composer in general to write in the style of another one?
It depends who you're working for. Like, I've done it for composers who were very strict about that sounds nothing like me, and although it works, we're not gonna present that. And then I've worked with some that are fantastic about, I don't want you to do me, I want you to do you, or I wouldn't have brought you in. So there's a wide range of personalities. So
what would you say is like your style or your kind of overall aesthetic in terms of your music? Is it something is it like an organic, like, because some composers, like we've had on the show, Jessie and I have talked to people who record a lot of their own sound effects, and they like sawbone and stuff, and then they add that, and they have a huge sample library and start off with a bunch of different pieces and then work into something that's a theme. But do you start with like instruments, or do you start on the piano, or like? It's hard
for me to like define my style, because one, I think because I get a bit tired of myself, so I'm always trying to change it. But then I'll go back and listen to a lot of my work and go, oh, it all sounds sort of the same. The self-effacing way of saying it. But I think over the years I've figured out that it's usually a combination of instruments that don't really go together. I love...
What instruments do you play?
I play piano and percussion is pretty much it. No guitar. I wish I played guitar. I wish I played lots of things. But I like the idea of instruments that don't really go together. Like what's the funkiest band we could have? We could have a harpsichord and a kazoo and a piano and then a string orchestra. So it's sort of like that, but then I find that almost everything I do has piano in it because I'm a piano player.
Makes sense.
Someone told me once what my style was, said I'm very aligned with hymnal type Americana.
Hymnal Americana.
Hymnal type Americana, grounded in
Have you heard of that
folk
genre?
music.
I haven't, but I think that's a good.
That's a good one. I like
yeah,
that.
And I'm so non-religious, but apparently I write hymnal
Grounded in
type
folk music.
That's
yeah,
your Texas
grounded in folk music, I
roots
think
right
is
there.
what. Yeah, that's the Texas roots.
It's coming out. It's a subconscious thing.
Wait till the accent comes out.
We got to bring up the Jameson for that,
Yes.
probably,
Yeah.
right? So, this kind of style that you're talking about, did it come out in the Edgewood? The Everwood score. I mean,
It very much came out in Everwood. I think also I'm not usually very happy unless I'm writing melodic type of music. I mean, we all do the drones
synth and
I
sound
love listening
effects.
to it, but I always try to have some kind of emotional component. And I get a lot of directors or producers will be like, it's too emotional or it's too melodic, and have to pull back. But I tend to start there.
So you start kind of like where you're saying that you always get pulled back emotionally.
Not always, but I mean, and
lot
it's
of
valid. It's valid because what we're supposed to do is hide behind the, it can't be about the music. It's got to be about the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that I'm still a firm believer that whether it's synthetic or drones or ambient, that the music is the emotional component that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have to go there. I have to start there.
Well, a scene would not be a scene in a movie if it weren't for like the music, whether it be score or whether it be a song choice.
Yeah, and if the scene's emotional enough, there's no music. It's not needed. So.
Right. But it's funny that the director who always says that, it's like Shyamalan always is like, I don't want any score in my movie. But then
he has fantastic
then you
scores.
watch like the movies and it's like this swooping James Newton Howard.
Oh, and they're
I'm just
amazing
like-
scores. You're like, wait, you didn't want music?
I'm like, how could you not want? It's like you have the most melodic stuff in your movies.
Because the guys that are paying for the movie are like, no, we think we
Yeah.
might need something here.
Yeah, exactly.
And they become so iconic. Those scores, like the Shyamalan scores, you can't separate them. Like I can't hear The Village without seeing The Village, and I can't see The Village without hearing
they're
it.
so tied. They're so tied. But
Which is great. Which is what I tried to do. It's actually what I try to do with, if anything's a style of mine, I try to make it sound like what it is, instead of, I'm not saying that I'm not reinventing the wheel or doing something groundbreaking. I just try to make it sort of iconic to the piece.
standalone,
Yeah.
basically. So you could listen to your soundtrack and have it be kind of a standalone piece.
And
on
you
its
know
own.
when you hear it, oh, that's Everwood, or oh, that's
So it's not
hopefully
settled.
Political Animals.
It's tied into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's watch a clip. We've got a clip from the end of Everwood. It's the season finale, and I guess it's a scene where Amy and Ephraim, which I guess are the two main characters, get together.
Is this the Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this scene.
And it's a long scene, so we're not going to be able to play the entire thing. But I think the first minute or so kind of gives you an idea, or gives our audience an idea of what the music sounds like. And then we'll go into a specific cue, just on its own, of the Everwood.
Well, what was great
theme.
about this particular sequence is, since it was ending the series and we knew it, it was like, okay, I've got all these themes I'm sort of going to reprise.
Kind of have to put them all together.
Yeah, and this is like, I want to leave you with, this was the idea behind the show musically.
Cool.
In this little scene.
Well, cool. Well, let's check it out, and here it is.
Don't say anything yet. I want to go first, and since I brought the Ferris wheel, I figured you'd let me. Okay, 4 years ago, you came to my little town, and you changed my life. I never thought that one person could do that to another, but you did. And from the moment that I met you, and each moment after that, somehow everything that happened to me kept coming back to you. I don't know if the Ferris wheel reminds you of anything.
Are you kidding me? How could I forget our first Thought Fest? When you first told me your nickname was Grover.
Can't we remember that?
I remember everything about us, Amy.
Me too. See, that's the thing. Every time I try to forget the feelings that I have for you, they keep coming back, and now they're back. And I don't want to push them down anymore. I don't want to run away from this. Because I never want to lose you again. I just want to be with you, next to you, wherever you are. And I'm sorry that it took me so long to figure it out. I really am, because I hate all of the time that we lost, and I know it's my fault, and I just really hope that you can forgive me.
Amy.
Because I love you. I love you.
It's my turn yet? Good. Because I love you too.
So I could definitely hear, like, I could hear very solo violin, kind of like
that was a big staple in the show.
And that's like throughout the entire score. There's a lot of solo violin. I mean, did you pin that with a specific character in the show, or was that kind of just an overall idea that you had?
No, the show was took place in a Colorado town in the mountains, and it was just an idea I had early on to do it with have a fiddle be the emotion of the show, a guitar and mandolin type of Americana sound for the rhythm and movement, and then strings and piano and
I
all
love
that
sound,
scory
like
stuff.
that Americana sound of like the simple fiddle and like the guitar. It's like
That's sometimes all you need.
Yeah, no. We actually had Deb Lurie on the show, and we were talking about Footloose, and it was very. I mean, she has like she kind of does the same thing with solo violin and like guitar, and I just like love that sound. It's just like such a great sound that you can capture in like any sort of theme. Do you know what I mean? It's like I feel like you could do a lot with it as a composer.
Really hard to fake though. You got to have a live player,
and you got to have a good one.
You got to have a good one.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a limited number of guys that can actually play good fiddle in LA.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like only one or two.
Well, I don't know about in LA. This is a deep music town. Yeah, you can go deep.
Well, I think for the audience, let's because there was dialogue over that scene, let's check out the Everwood theme, at least the first minute of it, to kind of hear what the fiddle sounds like on its own and kind of have a better audio of it. So here, let's check it out. It does.
To the show.
It's awesome. Well, you've seen it.
Yeah, it's a great show. If anyone, it's a totally underrated and I think forgotten show. But
I bet it's on Netflix.
I don't know if it is, but if it is on Netflix or some streaming service, find it and watch it, and you'll be hooked for sure.
How many seasons did they? How many seasons?
We went 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
Four seasons.
A long time. So
yeah, it was 10 years ago when I started it, so it was. It takes me back. It takes me way back.
You're like, wow, how young? Like how?
It takes me back through 3 different studios, and my kids were actually kids, and yeah, it takes me back.
Did you, when you kind of talked about the idea of the score, did you have the fiddle in mind already? Like, did you kind of have samples of the fiddle?
Well, when I first watched the show, and
like
I've always said
episode?
this. Yeah, the pilot episode. I've always said this, even in director meetings today. It's like as soon as I see it, I usually have some kind of spark, some kind of idea.
Yeah.
Until I see it, there's like nothing. So I'll sit there in a meeting after reading a script, and they'll say, "What do you think?" Show me something. And if I watch something I don't have an idea, then I panic because it's like I got to think of something. But this, for some reason, the fiddle automatically came to me the first time I saw it, and it was a nice device because you can really use it when you want to just stir that emotion, if you don't use it all the time, you can just sort of save it and, oh, when he says this, I'm going to pull the fiddle out. And then.
Well, it worked in that last scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did.
I don't think in that season we hadn't really used the fiddle. I was like saving for, let's just save it for the right moment. So those devices are really cool that you can come up with as a composer.
Is there
whether
anything?
It's a sound or a
Is
instrument.
there any instrument besides a fiddle that works as well that you've used?
Oh yeah, all the time. And you just, what I try to do is find that specific device, whether it's a sound. I mean, like, for instance, Hans Zimmer in Dark Knight, he does it with 2 notes. It's like that theme. It's a theme, but it's only 2 notes, and you can, if you can find that, it becomes the stamp on the
kind of like a
project.
trademark.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, that was very successful for me, and something I could turn to, and now even like on Political Animals, I'm like, what's the stamp? I gotta find the stamp.
So
what
you
is
gotta
it?
find the stamp.
What is it?
So cool. So that was really, really awesome example. And I'm kind of going to shift gears here and talk about The Mentalist a little bit, because I was going through the clip and clips on YouTube and things like that, and it seems to be kind of a different type of score. There's a lot of ambient textures. There's a lot of percussion, kind of like not, you know, the guitar and the fiddle type of thing. Can you talk a little bit about the genesis of this project?
Yeah, the Mentalist came to me through a director that I've worked with many times, and he was doing this pilot. He sent me the script. He said, I want you to do it. I read it, and that's actually one where I had an idea on the script before I saw anything. Because he's a mentalist. He's not a magician. He's a mentalist. He gets in your head. Through trickery, he can, you know, read you and figure you out. And I just thought, if the music can be super subliminal, that's what I want to do. Just create soundscapes, and it's not a real theme-heavy show. I do have themes. You know, Red John's got a theme. Patrick Jane has a theme, but it's more about mood, which is sometimes hard to do because if you're, like I said, melodic, and you have to pull yourself back and go, no, wait, we're just going to be moody for a little bit. So that's kind of what I tried to do, and they let me go with it. I mean, for 4 years, we're heading to season 5, and they're just like, go, do your thing, and it's really a great thing to work on.
It's great that you have the freedom.
Someone gives you that freedom.
Yeah.
So you just, you know, surprise us, do something cool. You've been doing it for 4 years, do it again.
And normally, do you get that kind of freedom on any project that you do now? Like,
not on all shows, and that's fine because, you know, we need guidance. We're like actors. We need to be directed.
You kind of need a focus.
We need,
right?
yeah, or we'll turn into maulers that's all over the place.
You'll turn in a mass for like for like a TV show.
I'm thinking you don't need dialogue. Here we go.
This is going to be a season of music videos, like little vignettes.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, I have a clip. Of course, is the last scene from The Mentalist, and I think it's cool because it does have soundscapes in it, and it does go to like kind of heavy percussion as well. And so I'm going to start it kind of like in the middle of the scene, but I think it'll give the audience kind of an idea of what you're talking about. So here, let's check it out.
What if you and I were friends? Imagine the life we could lead. It's a higher path, Patrick. A nobler existence. Like I said, go to hell. As you wish. Lorelai, cut off 2 of his fingers. You choose which, and we should go.
I'm sorry.
FBI! FBI! Turn off the vehicle! Let me see your hands. Come on! Out of the car! Get your hands up! around, face the car.
This call has been disconnected. Please hang up and try your call again. This call has been disconnected. Please hang up and try your call again.
So completely different from Everwood, in my opinion. Completely different, you know, in aesthetic and style. But you were just saying while we were watching that there was a specific thing, like the trademark of this scene was a device.
So the character Red John is who murdered Patrick's, for those who haven't seen it, murdered Patrick's family. And that's his whole...
Is this giving away the entire...
No, we know. Okay. We know from the beginning.
Okay.
Red John is a serial killer that killed Patrick Jane's family. And it's his whole mission in life now to catch Red John. It's why he goes and works for the police.
I see.
To ultimately find and get his revenge on Red John. So we don't get Red John that often. We get him maybe 3 or 4 times. We have an episode that deals with him maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know, similar to the fiddle being a stamp on Everwood, I'm like, I got to have something that when you hear it, you know Red John's around. So I can be subliminal. I mean, you won't even see him in the room. There might be something on the wall, and you'll hear it. And if you watch the show enough, you'll go, "Oh crap,
he's around.
He's somewhere." And it's. I mean, every composer does this in movies, especially in this genre. And so this, for Red John, it's that high-pitched. It's a water phone, just a screechy.
What is a water phone?
It's a crazy instrument. Looks like a bunch of metal sticks, and you bow it, and it's with water, and it just creates this really crazy sound. So it's always when Red John's around, there's that sound, and then followed by this little harp theme.
Huh.
And that just became the thing. So
that's really cool. I'm gonna actually play a few seconds of that so that you guys watching, if you missed it, can hear it. So let me see if I can replay this a little bit before. That right there. Right?
This call has been disconnected. Please hang up and try your call again. This call has been disconnected. Please hang up and try
I think that was the only... Oh, there it is. There it is.
And it doesn't mean that that's Red John. It just means he had something to do with what you're watching. Yeah.
And I think it's so amazing that like you're basically composing, or you know, people are doing things that they know the audience is going to have like a subliminal effect. Like they might recognize it, but they're not thinking about it. They're just experiencing it.
Well, it's what I try to do. Everything I do, I try to. I'm always a little nervous the first time I watch something because my whole process is watch it like the audience. I mean, I've told the writers, don't ever tell me what's going to happen in this show, ever. I mean, I might beg you to tell me who Red John is or if someone's going to die in this. Don't tell me because I want to experience it like the audience does. And then as I watch it for the first time, I kind of keep track of how I felt, and then I go to my studio and try to recreate that or enhance it.
Emotional highs and lows. So
yeah.
To speak, yeah.
So if I'm thinking, oh my God, that could be Red John, then I think when I'm then composing, I'm going to try to recreate that feeling I had by putting the little stamp on him. Or
got it. Got it.
So I'm always trying to not necessarily manipulate the audience, but give them the same ride
that
I'm having. Well, manipulation is what we do. You want them to cry?
Yeah, you've got to make them cry. Like, if you're like, they're going to cry so hard. So Jessie does music supervision, and so I'm curious to know, like, do you have to work with people like Jessie during your show to integrate the songs that are potentially picked? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, on different shows like this, we don't have a music supervisor. It's not a song show, Mentalist. But on lots of the shows, we do, and I've become very close, very good friends with the music supervisors because we're overlapping, or the way I like to do it. Because I think what bothers me is when I watch a project and you're like, oh, there's a song, there's a score, there's a song, there's the score. I like to try to somehow blend them. Mm-hmm. So if I know, for instance, on a new show, if I know what songs they're going to be pitching, that you're going to be pitching, I would say, let me have those. I'll try to find some elements in the sound that I can make similar in the score, so it all kind of feels like the same palette.
That's cool. So you can kind of like mix them together at times as well.
Not infringe on the copyrights, but
right, but
like if you're going heavy pop, and then I can, and sometimes that works, and sometimes it's nice to let them really stand apart, and you know, the producers will say, let the score sound like the score and
Yeah.
songs be the songs. But yeah, we do work together closely.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I think that I think for those of you watching who want to hear more of the score, you can actually hear all of it on YouTube. I found the entire thing there. So if you're curious about it, and I'm pretty sure you can probably get it on iTunes as well.
Maybe we should do that so our man gets a little...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Go to iTunes and buy the score if you're interested in hearing more, right? There you go. All right, cool. So we have another clip here from Brothers and Sisters. So talk a little bit about...
very different
Talk a little bit
show.
about this, which I noticed when I watched the clip. It was a completely different kind of theme as well. Different writing style.
It's a family drama. It's a large ensemble family drama. I was very excited to get called in on Brothers and Sisters. I just finished Everwood, and my friend and producer Greg Berlanti called one day and said, "I'm going over to work on this show, Brothers and Sisters. I want you to come along." And got introduced to Ken Olin, who's a fantastic guy, great actor, great director, producer. And then you get in the room and go, oh wait, and there's Sally Field, and there's Callista Flockhart, and there's Rachel Griffiths, and I'm not worthy. But it's the same thing. It became like, well, how can I do this differently? And I had just come off of a family drama, Everwood, but I didn't want to do that. So again, I just show me the show. No fiddle. No fiddle. Show me the show and let me try to come up with some ideas. But it was different in that it's very emotional, and yet it had these huge comedy moments too. So it was, you could, as a composer, you can, pick what you want to do that day. Do I want to write funny music or sad music or?
But comedy is oftentimes like very emotional in itself too. I mean, it comes from a very emotional space as well. So it seems like you could probably do a lot with that.
That's a whole therapy session, isn't it?
It is.
Comedy's not funny.
It's not. I mean,
it's taken very seriously.
Well, in writing comedies,
it's like it comes from like such a dark place.
Yeah, and you can spend lots of time on, is it funny enough? Is it too funny? Is it funny in the right spot? Are we ahead of the comedy?
Yeah.
Did I tell the joke before they told the joke? I mean, comedy's hard.
It is. That's why you just stick to post-apocalyptic, like dark
stuff.
Exactly.
Give me a superhero, please.
Just give me a horror film. All right. Well, here is a clip from Brothers and Sisters, and it's when Justin and Kevin, these two characters, talk in the kitchen, and I guess Nora comes home from a date, and the cue that's here is very specific. It's very, at a specific moment when these guys get together, and so we'll check it out and talk about it after. So here it is, about 1.5 minutes.
You should put ice on that eye.
I actually want the black eye for as long as possible to remind me not to be such a chivalrous ass.
I wish I was a chivalrous ass. Instead of being just wholly an ass.
Well, don't go hard on yourself. Maybe you just haven't found the right dude.
What if Chad was the right guy? What if I pushed him away?
Mom? How was your night? With your pimp?
Don't look at me, really. And not another comment from either one of you. Got it?
Got it. I mean, clearly you've had a taxing night. Which hotel bar are you working out of?
I listened to Emily Kraft again. Good. She told me that I had to wear this, that I had to compete with the other 20-year-old girls in my writing class.
Maybe you shouldn't listen to her. She's a bad seed.
Justin. Oh, honey. What happened? Are you all right?
I'm fine. Maybe you should concentrate on Kevin. Chad dumped him.
Oh, Kev, I'm so sorry.
You know what? I'll join a monastery anyway, one of those vow of silence places so I can stay out of trouble.
Well, you'd probably find a way, especially with all those monks batting their eyes at you.
Oh, what a sorry bunch we are. Look at us, God. What a family. Yikes. Who would like to have some scrambled eggs and toasted English muffins just to soothe over all of our bruises? All right.
So it seemed like you had some like percussion in there and stuff like that. Is that something that you do on your home studio computer, like with samples?
Yeah,
or
both. I'll play on the keyboard on the samples,
and then layer it.
Yeah, just whatever. pots and pans, play on the chair.
Do you really record pots and pans?
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Anything when you're want an idea, play the laptop. Well, on this show, what I used, which is actually in that cue, it's interesting, is like the fiddle and like the waterphone. I used the oboe. That was my thing.
I heard it briefly in there.
That was going to be the instrument in Brothers and Sisters, and there's a lot of talk and backlash in our little composer circle about how funny. Whenever you have funny music, there's always pizzicato strings, the plucked strings. And we shouldn't do that. And I'm just like, it's funny. It's been funny for years. It can still be funny.
You did that.
Like, I'm still going to do it because it's just funny. It makes me laugh. So I stuck with that. I had the oboe and then a lot of percussion. But I learned something from these devices and these like stamps in that I did another show while I was doing Brothers and Sisters, and I used the oboe in the score. And someone at the studio said, the score sounds like Brothers and Sisters.
Really? They said that?
Because I guess...
Did they know that you were working on both projects at the same time, or was that...
Probably, but same studio.
If it was random.
Yeah, and if it was random, it would be crazy. So, I don't know if I overused it in Brothers and Sisters, or if it was just a nice, it stamped it, but I learned something from that, which is you can kill an instrument if you use it too much on one project.
Or two.
So that forces you with every incoming project to be eclectic in how you approach it,
and try to think like, okay, I used this in the last.
So you have to keep track of everything that you've used.
And sometimes you just go, come on, guys, I'm going to use piano. Piano's been used in every score I can think of, so it's not.
At the end, you're not going to be left with any instrument.
Yeah, you'll be me humming.
This entire score is silent.
And then next it'll be, you hummed last time. I'll hum through a guitar amp.
It's just mental. It's just mental notes. All right, awesome. Well, I think that we should move on to some stuff that you have up and coming, and that is the Political Animals, which is coming up, and Arrow, which is new as well. And you're actually going to Comic-Con to talk about Arrow, right? And you're going to be on a panel. Can you talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing at Comic-Con?
I wish I knew.
You don't know yet?
No, I know I'm going.
I've heard that you're on a panel. And
I'm going to a panel Thursday.
The show too, and what it's based on, and all that.
Arrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know it's a superhero thing.
It's based on the DC comic Green Arrow.
Green Arrow.
Who is Robin Hood of sorts, in that he takes from the rich and gives to the poor.
Okay.
There's that Arrow connection.
Right.
And set in modern day.
Set in modern day. It's a modern take. I can't give away too much about the story, but it is really cool. It's very dark.
Sounds cool.
They didn't want to do a campy superhero show. They're like, he's a messed up individual, Oliver Queen. Let's just go dark. And that was sort of my marching orders, where, what do you want out of the score? Just make it dark.
That was it. That was your note.
That was my note. Like, go to your mad scientist room and do what you do, and just make it dark. So that was fun, and it's also fun to do a genre piece, like something that has an instant fan base at Comic-Con. You've got all these people that are excited about this show before we've even aired.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
So you have a built-in audience already.
Which can be good and bad if you...
Can be good and bad because you don't want to mess that up. You don't want to disappoint them.
So have you written everything, like everything's done for the most part?
The pilot.
Okay.
The pilot. So in TV you have this huge burst of production and creativity on the pilot, and then once it's sold the series, you kind of wait. And I'm waiting for the next script.
So you're
and
waiting.
The next, it's like, where are we going with this? I hope all the themes that I've been working on are going to work, and but it's an exciting show.
So what's the stamp on this score? Like what was the?
Well, there's a big. It's kind of cheesy.
Okay.
I mean, when I tell you the process behind it, it's kind of cheesy. I was sitting around and I thought, that's really cheesy, but I'll admit it. I thought, I want all the sounds to be created by something that's bowed because of the. Okay. I told you it's cheesy. You're about to laugh.
No, I like it.
No,
bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm only use bowed instruments like strings and harps and things that are strung or bowed.
It's very clever.
So,
Because
I went further cheesy and like I'll only write in the keys of G and A because green arrow. But
did you do that?
That's esoteric.
That's
as hell.
super cheesy.
I know.
That's
I know,
awesome.
but hey, the fans might like it.
That's
Like,
awesome.
oh my God, he's only in G and A.
I know, like, and then it'll give him something to like dig up, right?
Yeah.
Like on the, I mean, they'll be like, oh my God, this is like a sign
Yeah.
or something.
But then I wanted to do orchestra, but not just orchestra because I didn't want it to sound old-fashioned. So it's a hybrid of electronics and orchestra. And then I've got a little thing, an electronic thing that I designed that is sort of the sound that I'll come back to over and over. It's just an I couldn't hum it, I couldn't describe it. It's just a synthetic sound.
Is this the first comic that you've ever done? Like, is this the first kind of like comic series?
Yeah.
Comic book series that you've done? That's cool.
So it should be exciting, but nerve-wracking in that you can literally let down everyone if you misstep, which I can't imagine the pressure of being a writer. I mean, a writer.
It's tough to walk the line of you want to, you know, appease the old fans, but you also want to broaden the range, like because a lot of people don't read. I think more people watch television show than they would read a comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But I think people will really like it because they haven't messed with the origin.
Yeah.
They've got a really cool take on how to do it in modern day, and you know, a show like this you can bring in. DC Comics universe is huge. You can bring in all these characters, and you know, like they've done on Once Upon a Time is a huge hit because they've got all these characters they can go to in fairy tales.
We have a really awesome video of the scoring session. I think that will be awesome for our audience to watch. And I watched it earlier, and it's really, really well done and very cool. So let's check that out, and then we'll go into some of the clips from this upcoming Arrow pilot. Let's check it out.
Arrow is based upon the DC comic Green Arrow, who's the superhero who's been around since like the 1950s. And basically Green Arrow is sort of like a modern day Robin Hood who fights crime and rights wrongs and protects the downtrodden. And this is just a very modern, very grounded take on that longtime superhero.
Before I read it, I was a little worried. I wasn't worried because I knew what you guys were going to turn out, but I was like, well, okay, it's a modern take, but he's still running around carrying a bow and arrow. Unless I go really dark and really like, Dark Knight-ish and that kind of new modern sound on superheroes, it could be campy. And once you guys and Greg said, "Oh, go dark," then it all started making sense.
Usually when you're cutting together, your rough cut, edit of the picture, you'll put on a temp soundtrack and you'll take music from other movies or whatnot. And one of the executives saw the rough cut and said, "This music's fantastic. What's it from?" And we said, "That's actually Blake's score." So it was Blake's score that he had finished while we were shooting. So that was
well,
it's
an intimidating thing to take on. One every time I walk on the stage, I realize the ghosts that I'm following and the you have to raise the bar to come here and record because of so many great scores have been here. But then also you can't let the fans down. We've done lots of shows, all of us, but nothing that really has the fan base built in before it even airs. So you can disappoint them from day one. I can write the wrong theme, like, ugh, we're off the show. So it's intimidating, but it was fun.
It's incredible because, David Nutter shot this pilot in this incredibly cinematic way, and we tried very hard to write it in a cinematic way. And then Blake comes along and writes a cinema quality score, and then gets to record it with, here on this stage with, musicians who have played in movies and done soundtracks, and the whole project is just elevated by the endeavor here. It's incredible. Like KHX says, the audience is listening.
They are listening, and they know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why so many more shows get a full treatment now.
And so many people are just watching movies at home. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, fewer people are going to the movies and they're bringing that experience home. And, you know, if you're going to have a TV show that sort of says, hey, we're trying to do, you know, our version of The Dark Knight or Man of Steel every week, you know, we really have to bring it. And I think having the orchestra here really says that we're committed to doing that. And, you know, it also is just a better experience for the fans at home.
Blake and I did a pilot together, which was it was called No Ordinary Family, about a family of superheroes. And even though, God, I've been working with Blake, you know, for, you know, 6 years, 7 years now, he showed with that score, you know, like, oh my God, he can do superheroes. He can do like this big Hans Zimmer-esque, you know, I don't have the vocabulary to describe it, but it was like this revelation. So it was so exciting when Blake said he was available to do this pilot. And then you just added all these extra, you know, layers to it. Like there's even a little Trent Reznor in the end of the second act, which is very, very cool. After the recording session, I said to Blake, you know, even though we've been working together on so many different shows now and worked for so many different years, I'm always surprised he always finds a new gear. He always figures out some way to up his game. And with this pilot, it's like you've bested yourself.
Very, very cool little scoring session that shows kind of the nuts and bolts of this being made. And I want to, since we're running out of time, I want to have the audience listen to maybe a few seconds of one of your cues from Arrow, which we hope will get a legit release when the show is successful. But here's the opening, which is a couple-minute clip, but let's listen to the first 30 seconds to get a better idea of what this score is all about. That was cool. That was really cool. I don't know about you guys, but if you are listening right now, that was pretty awesome. We have one more clip that I want to play, but we don't have time for. I do want to move on quickly to Political Animals. Talk a little bit about this show.
This is a show that is not about the Clintons, as I read one hilarious news piece said. But it's about Secretary of State, played by Sigourney Weaver, who was the First Lady, and she's now running for president. And so you get, it's really exciting because you get the, it feels like you're really behind the scenes in Washington.
Yeah.
It's still got a family drama element to it, so there's a little bit of, you know, maybe from my past, the brothers and sisters aspect of it. You've got family fights, but then you've got the high politics and the maneuvering. There's hostages, there's world affairs, but the cool thing to me is that you really do kind of feel like you're like, this is what it'd be like if we went behind, you know, in their house at night and saw how these people just kind of hang out. I mean, they drink, they fight, they
scream, they cry, all that stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know, they're normal people, and they just happen to be running the country. So it's a fun project.
Well, let's quickly take a look at the trailer. This actually does not feature any of Blake's score, but it'll give you a quick idea as to what the show's all about.
Madam Secretary, it is reported that you have a rather large ego.
I don't think ego has anything to do with it. For me, I've always put everything I am into what I'm doing. I took this job as Secretary of State because I feel I can make a difference. Eleanor Roosevelt, Cleopatra, Elizabeth I, that's the kind of company I want to keep.
There are those in the press who like to focus on my less than flattering moments as president.
If you're having sex with that many women for that long a period of time, it's the press's job, it's my job, to give the real story to the American people.
The voters are smarter than that. Now, they remember when I left office how good things actually were.
The Hammonds are the closest thing this country has to royalty, certainly.
We had a great childhood. You know, it's an honor to grow up in the White House. It's a house. It really is just a house.
Boys will be boys.
Nobody accidentally ruins a family.
I go to sleep at night and hope to wake up in some house where 300 million people didn't have an opinion whether I'd like to kiss girls or boys.
I think it's hard on your family. You don't have much time to do a lot of the normal things in life.
That's just a sacrifice you make when you're born a Hammond and your dad's the president.
There is no difference between the personal and the political.
Run for president again?
I'll tell you what I tell everybody when they ask me this question, that politics and me, we're done.
Good title.
Very, very cool. So when is this coming out? Like, this is...
Sunday.
Sunday is the
15th,
first.
yeah.
So everybody watching...
6 episodes.
Check out this
It's on
USA.
USA.
It's on USA. And then Arrow is coming out on what, CW?
September, CW.
CW is September.
Mentalist is CBS, which is moving to Sundays this fall.
It's a competitive night.
Competitive night.
It's crazy.
This will be done by the time Mentalist
We'll
rolls
be
around.
competing against each other. That's
Unless it gets picked up for a full series.
That would be awesome.
Because it's a fun show.
I think that the nuts and bolts of what we've seen here today have like very, very good promising aspects, especially for the show. I mean, this looks awesome. Arrow, I'm sure, is going to be awesome. Are they showing clips at Comic-Con or?
You don't
have no idea?
I've never been to Comic-Con. I just want to go see.
Like they probably are.
I just want to go see Stormtroopers.
You want to see Stormtroopers?
Like, I'll do the panel. How many Darth Vaders will I get to see?
Well, Blake, it's so awesome for you to be on our show. I wish we could spend all day talking about every project. But those of you that are watching, we did have some YouTube clips and trailers that we did not show, but we will have them all on our website for you to check out. You're on Spotify. At least I think a few of your soundtracks are on Spotify.
Oh,
so we'll have those links out, and everything that we've seen on YouTube today, we'll have that on our page. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook, and you are on Twitter, which I did not know, and your Twitter handle is what?
Cow on the Wall.
Cow on the Wall, at Cow on the Wall, which is
Cow on the Wall.
which is the name of your studio.
My studio.
Which looks awesome. If you want to actually, another thing I need to say, go to BlakeNeely.com. Oh look, thank you, Chris. Here are pictures of
There's
Cow on the
Cow
Wall.
on the Wall.
It's right there on
it's right above the piano.
Did you get that in Texas? Did you shoot that?
I did. It's wooden.
Did you hunt that
No
in?
animals were harmed in the making of the studio.
Well, Blake, it is so great to have you, and you'll have to come back.
Thank you very much.
You guys tune in next week. Actually, next week we're going to be off, but we will be back the week following, hopefully with a very surprising guest, which we will announce on Twitter and Facebook very soon. So don't go anywhere. Go on iTunes and subscribe to us, and I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.